Tired of buying a bunch of different shorts for working out, looking good, and just life in general? Try Bird Dogs. They feel like gym shorts, but look like khaki shorts. The ultra-breathable fabric keeps you cool, and the built-in liner is an added layer of support. To top it all off, Bird Dog shorts look so good you can wear them anywhere. Go to birddogs.com/MLB and enter promo code BASEBALL for a free baseball hat with your order. That's birddogs.com/MLB, promo code BASEBALL for a free hat. You won't want to take your bird dogs off, we promise you.
Walk the dogs, school drop-off, meetings from 10 to 3, take kids to soccer, then no time left for a jog.
When everyone else is relying on you, it's easy to put your needs last. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist online, so you can show up for yourself the way you do for others. Visit BetterHelp.com/positive to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/positive.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour number 2 is now underway on Sports Daily right here on KFH. I'm Tommy Castor alongside Paul Savage, Jad Chambers, as always, producing the show on the IHOP hotline, 869-1240. Thanks for those of you who are listening on KFH. Thanks to those of you watching on our video stream. You can check us out on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitter. Leave your comments, and they'll show up right up on the screen, and we'll get to them as the show rolls on. A busy hour number 2 here on the program. Coming up in the next segment, Jay Delling will call in and talk a little bit about the Wichita Open, which kicks off today at Crestview Country Club. It's always a lot of fun. One of the best events in Wichita every single year. Today is day number 1 of the Wichita Open, so we will talk with Jay coming up in the next segment. But first, Paul, we have another Wichita Sports Hall of Fame induction, so I'm going to turn things over to you to get things started.
Well, thank you, Tommy. I appreciate that. And we have real royalty. Royalty is what I'm saying, is in the form of Kym Carter, who is perhaps one of the top 3 women athletes to ever come out of the city of Wichita. And I when I say top 3 women, Tommy, I'm going to say 3 names to you: Kym Carter, Corrine Jacks, and Lynette Woodard. Those are probably the 3 queens, or kings, I might say as well, of Wichita sports on the women's side, because those were all 3 wonderful. By the way, for those that don't know who Corrine Jacks is, she was an 8-time AAU All-American in the 40s and 50s. Just prior to AAU basketball was the basketball that later became college women's basketball. 8-time All-American at with the Boeing Bombers. But anyway, I'm so glad to have Kym Carter on today, because she's one of the great ones. And just to say a little about her is that, you know, this is a lady that won state championships at the high jump, setting national records that held for years and years and years. She was also a person who won a state championship in basketball and was also an Olympian. She was in the Olympics for the United States. And it's great to have Kym Carter on the show today to be inducted into the Wichita Sports Hall of Fame. I know, Kym, you're facing a little bit of a battle with your voice. It's okay. We'll get through this, because we're bound and determined to make you a Wichita Sports Hall of Famer today. And we're going to do it one way or the other, Kym. So how are you, Kym? How's the voice coming?
Okay. My voice is horrible. It's I ended up losing my voice. You know, I am in New York City. We had the fires, and we've had a lot of. I'm an athletic director at a school, so we've had a lot of events, and we had a major one yesterday. And I apologize. I apologize to your listeners, because I generally don't sound like this. I don't.
Well,
it's okay. Not an issue at all, Kym.
You know, Kym, I want to take
you guys thinking of me.
Well, we're so glad to have you on. Whether you're whatever you sound like, you're just one of the greatest athletes of all time in Wichita. And we're so glad to have you on. I want to go back to that day. There was The story goes, and here's how the story goes. There was a fateful day you walked into the gymnasium at East High School, and some of the girls were trying to get you to go out for women's basketball, and you'd never played basketball, but the story goes that you jumped up and grabbed the rim. Is that a true story?
Yeah, somewhat true. I actually grabbed it at Wichita State.
Oh.
A friend of mine and I were heading to the track one summer. My, I guess 8th, 9th grade year. And as we walked through, a friend of mine said, "Can you grab the rim?" I said, "Of course I can grab the rim." So I stood underneath the basket. I grabbed the rim easily. And unbeknownst to me, on the other end of the court were some athletes that played at Wichita State, but they had friends at Wichita East. And they ran over to me and were like, "Oh, my God, do that again." And I just looked at them. I was like, "Oh, okay." And I did it again with ease. And they asked me where I was going to go to school. I said, "I'm going to Wichita East High School." And just said bye, and we went outside and we did a little workout. So what happened was that, you're right, I did not play basketball. I had no intention of playing basketball. I spent my entire life having people tell me, "Oh, I'm sure you're going to be really good." And I thought, well, what if I'm not good? I don't know how to play. So I was at East High actually trying out for the cheerleading squad. And, the cheerleading sponsor said, "I'd like to introduce you to somebody." And I said, "Okay." And over walked large man, not bigger, not taller than me, but a little larger. And she said, "I'm introducing you to Don Bowen. He's our girls basketball coach." I said, "Well, very nice to meet you, but I don't play basketball." And so I proceeded to make the volleyball squad and the cheerleading squad with no intention of playing basketball, but he was a kind man. The girls on the team were great and very encouraging. So, long story short, I ended up going out for basketball.
Go ahead, Tommy.
Kym, I want to jump. I want to jump ahead real quick and ask you about your experience in the Barcelona Olympics in '92. I can imagine just the overall thrill and honor of being an Olympian on the U.S. Olympic team. Talk a little bit about what your experience was in that and some of the memories that you have from that time back in 1992.
Yeah. The feeling that you have is just overwhelming when you make an Olympic team. It's unlike any other. I put it up there with giving birth to my twin boy and girls. But and I remember saying to my coach, well, one, it was a little precarious because if people remember, I was actually in 4th place going into the last event. And I overheard the young lady who was ahead of me saying her coach told her to just hang on to me for the last event of the 800 meters and, just go out with her, hold on to her. And I thought to myself, well, you can hold on to me, but you're going to have a heck of a ride. And I ended up breaking my own American record in 800 in that race. And we were friends after that, but I looked back and the young lady who tried to hold on to me, who ended up 7 seconds behind me, was in one of those Kevlar blankets that they use after the marathon. And she was struggling and walking, and the trainers were with her. So I saw she did have a very interesting ride, but what was happening in Barcelona? It was in New Orleans. What was happening is that they were trying to tell people so quickly afterward that they had made the team and giving me the little American flags to then go take your victory lap. They tried to give me a flag, and I refused it. And I just ended up, finishing the 800. Wasn't quite certain whether or not I had done what I needed to do to catapult myself into third place. So by the time I got 3/4 around the track, I saw my coach in the stands. And I looked up at her like, did I, with my hands kind of up in a question. And she said, yes. And she turned to her friend. She said, she doesn't know. And I just burst into tears. I wanted to get the confirmation from her. And so anytime you have an opportunity to represent your country, it's just a very special feeling. The Barcelona games were amazing. It's an amazing city. But for me, I ended up spending a lot of time in France, which neighbors Spain, because the heptathlon goes early in the games. I decided not to participate in the opening ceremonies because it's just such a long, long day that I really wanted to have myself ready for the competition. So one of the things that I sacrificed was being able to go to the opening ceremonies. But just you're with, some of the best around the world. You're trying to do your best. It kind of just came full circle from what I always tried to do in high school as well. Just compete. And I did pretty well. It was 11th overall.
Wow. And in the Olympics, I've interviewed people that have participated in Olympics over the years, Tommy and Kym. And one of the things that they say, and Kym, I'll ask you if this happened to you, is the first time you put on your jersey that says USA and you look at yourself in the mirror, you do a double check and you just a double take of yourself and you look and you think, I've got this shirt on me right now, this jersey, and it says USA. Did you have that experience too?
I did have that experience. I was lucky enough to make the national team the year before that we went to Tokyo, Japan in 1991. So I did have that feeling there, and I remember saying to my coach, people don't understand. You almost pay to make a team. You're so fortunate to be able to use your own skills, but it just means that much to you that it's like, you guys didn't have to pay me. I would have paid you to come to make a trip.
Well, I know your voice is holding pretty good, but I'm going to get you out of here with talking about one more thing that I think is a fascinating thing about your career, particularly right here in Wichita. And Tommy, I want you to know that Kym was for years the national record holder for the high jump in women's high school track, which is really something. And that was at a height of 6'2". Amazing. And what
relay?
Yeah. And what's amazing is in the state track meet, Tommy, for her senior year. Everybody gets to pick, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kym, but most people get to pick where do they want to start. What height do you want to start when it comes to your first jump for the competition? And interestingly enough, it's one of those things where at the high school level with Kym, the second place finisher for the high jump had a jump of 4'10". That's second place in the state meet. Kym's opening jump was 5'4". That was her opening jump. Talk a little about sitting there watching all these girls, because basically what happens is you watch the whole competition unfold in front of your very eyes, and then you come in and jump. Talk a little about that day you won won the state championship with waiting for everybody to finish up before you even started.
Well, I won 3 state championships in a row. That was not my senior year. My senior year, there was a very good young lady who also ran the 400, so we competed against each other. I cannot remember the school that she went to. But I did not have a chance to reflect on that until I was inducted into the Kansas State Hall of Fame. I don't spend a lot of time reflecting on my career, but going into that event, I had to think to myself, my goodness, I never lost a high school track meet in the 3 years of high school. And it was like that. When I first started, I was coming in at the same heights other people were, because that's just what you did. But then you learned, you only have so many jumps, and if you're jumping higher, you don't want to waste them on lower heights. So I did, not just at state meets, but at other competitions too. I would cheer for the other athletes because I wanted somebody to still be in by the time I came in. But I got very fortunate. My senior year, there was a young lady from the state of Washington who was also jumping very well. So even if she wasn't there and we never actually competed against each other while we were in high school, I kind of competed against her a little bit, even if the competition that was at the meet was not jumping as high as I was. But I remember my senior year, I actually had much like this, I had a serious sinus infection. I'd taken a bunch of cold medicine. I was struggling, but somehow managed to pull it out.
Well, your career has been spectacular, and it's just amazing to have you on the air with Tommy and I. And we're both Tommy, I speak for you, I know, when I say it's a privilege to have you on our show and allow us to induct you into the Wichita Sports Hall of Fame. And want you to get feeling better, that's for sure. But it's that time of the show where we're going to induct you into the Hall of Fame. And first of all, congratulations, because, man, oh, man, you deserve this, and I'm so proud of you and what you've meant to Wichita sports. You're a treasure in this city, and I want you to know that. And I know everybody that's listening to our voice or will listen to this on the podcast will also think the same thing. So at this time, Kym Carter, you have been officially nominated and elected into the Wichita Sports Hall of Fame. And at this point, you are inducted and now have the same rights and privileges pertaining to such an induction into the Wichita Sports Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Kym Carter. Congratulations.
Thank you, guys, so much. I'm going to call back another time when my voice has cleared up to thank you all properly. But I just want the city of Wichita to know you stayed in my heart. I still have good friends there. And I wouldn't have grown up in another spot. You guys were great to me. I love the city. And just thank you all so much. I'm so honored.
Well, we are too. Tommy, I'm just so proud of Kym Carter. And thank you, Kym, so much for coming on. And, man, you're a competitor. Man, you fought through that voice problem. Man. But that's what the great ones do, Tommy. Isn't that what the great ones do?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Echoing Paul, hope you feel better, get that voice back. We'd love to have you back on anytime.
Absolutely.
And once again, congratulations and thanks so much for the time, Kym.
Thank you, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, that's Kym Carter, and congratulations to her as the newest inductee in the Wichita Sports Hall of Fame. It's a jam-packed show, as always, here on Sports Daily. Coming up on the other side of the break, Jay Delling is going to call in talking about the Wichita Open. We're full of interviews on the show today. So we're going to do that, talk about day number 1 of the Wichita Open out at Crestview Country Club. That's on the way. On the other side, Tommy Castor, Paul Savage, Jad Chambers producing at Sports Daily on KFH. Our thanks to Kym Carter and congratulations to her on the induction for the Wichita Sports Hall of Fame. If you missed that interview or any of our interviews in hour number 1 with Tim Fitzgerald from GoPowerCat.com or Chelsea Messenger, our Odyssey Sports Betting Insider, you can always go online to KFHradio.com or on the free Odyssey app and be able to hear those back, listen to the entire interview right there. Again, that's at KFHradio.com or on the free Odyssey app. Paul, Odyssey and KEYN bring you Concerts in the Park, sponsored by IHOP. It's free live music Friday from 8 to 10 p.m. in Andover Central Park at the Capitol Federal Amphitheater, 1607 East Central Avenue in Andover. This Friday, the Lou Brown Band. You can bring your lawn chairs, your blankets, extra cash for the food trucks. No coolers are allowed, but the gates open at 6:30 p.m. That's going to be tomorrow night, the Lou Brown Band at the Capitol Federal Amphitheater. Don't know how much time, if any, you've spent out there at the Capitol Federal Amphitheater, Paul. I live right down the road from the amphitheater in Andover. It's a cool venue, and that free music Friday, the Concerts in the Park, that's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, I've never been to it, but I look forward to it. As a matter of fact, our Shakespeare in the Park, I believe it's next week. We also have a production that we will do in the park. Much to do about nothing. Will play in the amphitheater there at Andale. So, yeah, I'll be in it. I'll actually perform in it here in the next week or so.
All right.
Yeah.
And I've been there. I really enjoy that particular park space that they've got there. I went to I think it was the second ever Taco Fest because the first one they'd held in Union Station here in Wichita, and they didn't have nearly enough room, and it was perfect that next year when they held it in Andover, and that's happening this Saturday this year. So
wow, a lot going on at
cool.
the amphitheater in Andale or Andover. I mean, wow.
Andover. It's such a fun venue, such a cool place. We take our son there to the park, which is right next to the amphitheater. Quite a bit. Go out there. It's brand new. I think within the last year or two that park area is. And I'm super grateful, by the way, that, and I know Jacob and I discussed it the other day, that it wasn't damaged in the Andover tornado last year, because it's such a cool place for families and people to hang out down there. So, sounds like a lot going on there at the amphitheater starting tomorrow night, the Free Music Friday Concerts in the Park. And then, a lot of other things going on down there.
Just real quick, this Sunday is when we perform now. You don't have a reason not to, walk a half a block down to the theater and come to Much Ado About Nothing and see me as Antonio, for God's sakes. Okay, there's no reason. This Sunday, Tommy Castor is going to be at that performance. I don't know what he's going to do with his kid. Bring your kids. What the heck?
I think, Paul, if I do that, would there be anything stopping me from bringing tomatoes to throw on the stage?
Not a thing. Not a single thing. And you'll be sitting close enough to the stage, I'm sure you'll get a couple of hits.
Well, I might have to do that. I think that would be a fun way to enjoy a little bit of Shakespeare, to throw some tomatoes up on the stage.
Go.
No, I'd never do that. I'm more respectful of the theater than that. So,
well, anyway,
Jay, do we have Jay Delling on the line? I'm not sure if we've got him ready to go.
Not yet.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So Jay Delling, Wichita Open, we've got him scheduled. We'll track him down to have him join the show here in just a little bit to talk about day number 1 of the Wichita Open. Paul, speaking of the Wichita Open, how locked in do you get to that tournament? Do you go out and enjoy the festivities at all? Have you been there before?
Oh, gosh,
your thoughts on what that tournament brings to Wichita?
Let me tell you, I used to have a tradition. I probably stopped about 10 or 15 years ago, but there was a time, probably for the first 10, 15 tournaments that they would have, I'd make a point of going on Sunday, and I always bring an old golf club with me. I'd always go to like a thrift store, and I'd find a really nice, high-quality driver. Usually I'd try to get a number 1 driver. And then I would take it out with a pen and have the winner, after he won the tournament, sign my driver. Somewhere in my storage area, I probably got 10, 15 drivers with the champions from the Wichita Open in my garage. I don't know where they are. I haven't seen them for a long time. But, yeah, it's always a lot of fun because who's going to be the next star? I mean, we've seen some of these guys go on to do some really great things on the tour, and it's been a lot of fun. So to see who's going to be the next big star. And, of course, Wichita for itself. I mean, even if you look at the U.S. Open, we got Sam Stevens, who you and I interviewed. I believe it was Friday. Last Friday, we interviewed him, and he's playing in the U.S. Open. What a great history Wichita has. And let me tell you, this Wichita Open has become a great part of the history of Wichita golf. It's really cool, and it's a great place to go. I mean, Crestview is an easy walk. It's very conducive to watching golf, and I enjoy it a lot, Tommy.
Let's get you a quick update on the U.S. Open, by the way, which
please.
just teed off a little bit ago. Jacob Solomon is tied for the lead with Omar Morales and also Dylan Wu at 2 under par. A couple of other notable golfers that are under par right now include Francisco Molinari at 1 under, Kevin Streelman at 1 under, Ricky Fowler is also 1 under. A lot of golfers still yet to tee off because obviously it's on the West Coast. So it's 10:30 right now.
Right.
It'd be 8:30 out on the West Coast. So things are just kind of getting underway there for day number 1 of the U.S. Open. Looks like we do have Jay Delling here on the line to talk Wichita Open golf with us. Jay, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning, guys. How's it going?
It's going great. You guys got really, really good weather, it looks like, to kick off day number 1 of the Wichita Open out at Crestview Country Club. How are things going out there? I know there's been a lot of preparation and getting everything ready to go for the huge event out at Crestview. How do things look right now?
Things are great. I heard you were in charge of the weather this year, so thank you for a great start on a Thursday. We never like to get behind on a Thursday, so no, the weather is just perfect. The wind is down. The sun is shining. First balls were in the air at 6:55 this morning. We are off and running. The golf course looks amazing. People are already out on the course, heading down to number 17, which I may follow them at some point today.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to get into the nuts and bolts of like the leaderboard and who some of the notable players and all of that we've got in the field this weekend. But before we get into that, I want to ask you first off, I know that there's a brand new tournament director, Dusty Buell. I've known Dusty for years. Great guy. And he's really doing some things, it looks like, to push the envelope and move things forward in this event that has been a lot of fun for a number of years under Roy Turner. But I know that there are some new elements to the Open, the fan zone, and then some upgraded amenities on 17. Walk everybody through, if they go out to the Open this weekend, some of the new things they can expect.
Yeah, the fan zone is new, so I encourage everybody that walks through the Welcome Center. All they have to do is keep walking. There's just a lot of new things for the fans this year. It's just not about golf. It's about fun. It's about getting people involved in our tournament. And by the way, there's golf going on, kind of a thing. So it really is a social event out here, and we encourage people to come out. And whether we get a lot of people out here that aren't really golfers, but they like to come out here. The socialization is good. Obviously, 17 speaks for itself, but you've got 80 acres out here at your beck and call, and you can literally go almost anywhere you want. You can follow groups you don't know about. I encourage everybody to come in and get a tee sheet, which we have in the Welcome Center as you come in. If you've got somebody specific that you want to follow, we've got some local flavor this year that we're excited about. So a lot of fun things going on.
Well, give our listeners something to sort of look at and maybe give a comparison to. What's it going to take, in your opinion, the way the course is playing? Because you've seen the course, you've probably talked to some of the guys who have played some practice rounds and that kind of thing. What's the score going to take to make the cut? And I'm going to put a little pressure on you. What's it going to take to win the tournament?
Paul, typically it takes about 18 to 20 under to win in Wichita. And that's what I said last year. But some guy named Norman Song shows up and shoots 26 under to break all kinds of scoring records. He actually double bogeyed the last hole. He was at 28 under, finished at 26 under, still won the tournament by 5 shots. I am totally convinced that if you were on the 18th tee, the 72nd hole, with a 7-shot lead, I am confident you would bring it home.
Well, geez, thank you for that one.
That's a lot of optimism, Jay. I don't know if I would go quite that far, but I get what you're saying. As far as the field is concerned, Jay, you mentioned the defending champion Norman Song, who won last year, is back in the field this year. It's so much fun for me over the years that I've been out at the tournament and followed along to then follow some of these guys as they make it on the PGA Tour. And I can think of a handful of names, a lot of guys that have been in the field before. Colin Morikawa's been in the field, and Bubba Watson's been in the field. And I know I'm missing a lot of other players, but there have been really, really notable PGA Tour professionals that have played in the Wichita Open. So are there some other notable names in the field this year, or other guys that you look at and you think, keep your eyes on that guy because he might end up making a run in the PGA?
Right. So just FYI, Norman Chong is out on the golf course right now. He's tied for 5th. Okay. He's at 4 under. So he's making a charge on Thursday. This tour is so interesting because back in 1990, we had no idea who Tom Lehman was. But he wins our event and ultimately becomes number 1 in the world for about a cup of coffee. It was a short period of time, but he did. Players like David Duval, right? David Toms, Jason Duffner, all these players have won major championships on the PGA Tour. We didn't really know who they were when they were in Wichita. So it's kind of hard to pick. Although here's my take now. College golf has brought an element to this tour that we've never seen before. If you remember about 3 years ago, speaking of Colin Morikawa, which between his freshman and sophomore year back in 2016 competed here in Wichita and actually lost in a 3-way playoff to win the championship. Ollie Schneiderjans won that year. So, here's a 19-year-old kid on arguably the second best tour in the world, right? I mean, just a 19-year-old kid. When him and Matthew Wolff and Victor Hovland came out on tour 3 years ago, they went right from college to actually the PGA Tour and won within that first season. So these players that are coming out of college, we have 7 of the top 10 players in college golf this last year that are in the field this week. And so these are guys that I'm watching. There's a player named Adrian Dumont Deschart who 2 weeks ago was playing college golf. His pro debut was at the BMW on the Korn Ferry Tour last week. He not only entered the tournament, he won it.
Oh.
It's unheard of, right? These players coming to college, they are absolutely fearless. There's not a pin that they don't go after. They just have this green light mentality where, if you talk to the veterans on the PGA Tour, they'll tell you, okay, certain pins you don't want to go for the middle of the green. These kids are fearless. They're going for every pin, and it's really a lot of fun to watch.
I've got a question about the golf course again, if you don't mind. What has Crestview done to sort of trick this thing up, make it more difficult? Do they do anything in particular that you know of to make this a more challenging course for some of these guys? Because these guys are shooting the heck out of these scores. And what does the course do on a normal basis to make it more difficult?
Well, what we did, it's been several years ago. When you want to make a golf course a little bit harder, you go take some of the par 5s and turn them into par 4s. And so here at Crestview for the members, it's a par 72. But number 6 and number 18, which are usually par 5s, we turn them into par 4s during Wichita Open Week. And so again, instead of having a par 72, we have a par 70. And these holes are really easy as par 5s, but they're really hard as par 4s. There's not much more that we can do to make the golf course harder. Yeah, we could grow some rough. But you know what? Here on the Korn Ferry Tour, we don't want to put any man-made obstacles in their way. We want them to score. We want them to have that confidence, so that when they get on the PGA Tour, again, they maintain that no fear mentality.
Well, I can tell you, Crestview.
What you watch depends on what kind of mood you're in. Sometimes you're craving comedies like Friends or South Park, and sometimes you're more into dramas like HBO's Succession and House of the Dragon. There's also cooking shows like Chopped and Beat Bobby Flay, and even movies like The Lord of the Rings and Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Well, Max is the streaming destination that has the best of entertainment for whatever mood you're in anytime. And plans start at as little as $9.99 a month. Max, the one to watch. Subscription required. Visit max.com.
Looking for an adventure? Find yours in a Toyota truck. Like a Tacoma, the ultimate off-road machine. With available crawl control, you'll tackle anything in your way. Or an electrified Tundra with more power than ever before and a spacious high-tech cabin that puts you in charge. Or go with the legendary 4Runner, always reliable and durable over the toughest terrain. No matter your adventure, Toyota has you covered. Visit buyatoyota.com for more, and let's go places.
Nationals baseball is in full swing.
Strike three called. He got him looking. That's 10 strikeouts for Mackenzie Gore.
With the free Odyssey app, local fans can listen live all summer long, whether you're at the grill or at the pool.
Going, and gone. Goodbye. C.J. Abrams, a grand slam.
Nationals baseball. Nationals announcers streaming live on the free Odyssey app. AUDACY. Get in the game and download it today.
My course, and typically my score goes up, quite a bit, when the month of May and June rolls around, and that rough gets a little bit longer and the greens get a little bit faster. Of course, I'm nowhere near as good as these guys who are on the Korn Ferry Tour. Jay, I could talk to you for hours about this tournament and the Korn Ferry Tour and golf in general. There's one other question that I have for you, and I know that I'll have you back on tomorrow to give you an update, have you give an update on the Friday rounds and all of that. But one of the things that has always really piqued my attention with the Korn Ferry Tour in general is, and maybe I'm wrong in the terminology of it, I think it's called the battlefield promotion. Is that what it's called? Where a player wins multiple times on the Korn Ferry Tour and they're immediately promoted back up to the PGA. They don't have to wait around. They don't have to try to, qualify or whatever. They literally win a certain number of events and then they automatically get to go to the PGA Tour. I would imagine that probably plays into that mentality that you were just talking about with the kids being fearless and going after all these pins and trying to score because they want to make it to the PGA Tour as quickly as possible. That's always been one of the most fascinating things that I look at on the Korn Ferry.
Yeah, absolutely. So typically when you win an event here on the Korn Ferry Tour, you are exempt for the rest of this year and then all of next year. If you win 3 events in the same calendar year, you are promoted to the PGA Tour. So, for example, if you had won 2 events previous to Wichita and just so happened to win Wichita, you are in the PGA Tour event next week. It's that immediate.
That's cool. That's awesome. I mean, that's, definitely shows just that, the attitude and the fearlessness that you were just talking about. Jay, I know you mentioned the defending champion is 4 under right now. Any other leaderboard updates before we let you go, or anything that we need to be looking at as day number 1 of the Wichita Open rolls on?
Yeah, well, lots of low numbers. Jimmy Stanger, who is projected to finish 5th after this week on the points list, is our leader at 7 under par through 14 holes. Kyle Jones is a shot back at 6 under. Spencer Levine, who has played the PGA Tour for several years, is at 5 under, just 2 shots back. Clay Fegler is 5 under. There's an interesting young man. I'm trying to go through the leaderboard here. Michael Fiegels, who's at 3 under, so he's 4 shots back. He shot 59 earlier this year. So it just shows you talent on this tour because you don't see 59s every week, every year. I mean, I think there's just been maybe a little more than a handful of 59s on this tour in the 34-year history. So these guys can flat out play, no doubt.
Well, one more thing before we let you go real quick. I want you to give everybody an update on some of the local flavor in this tournament. We know that Cooper Schultz, who's a Crestview member and a local kid from Andover Central and K-State, he qualified, so he's in the field. Give everybody an idea on some of the local flavor in this tournament.
Yeah, so Cooper Schultz, he'll be entering his junior year at K-State. He teed off at just about 9 o'clock this morning. I think he's even par through his first 4 or 5 holes. Dodge Kimmer, who was a high school standout here in the Wichita area, played at Stanford. I think he's 2 under early in his round. So a couple of guys off to fairly decent starts, guys to watch. But they're going to have to make birdies. They're going to have to make them fast, and they're going to have to make a lot of them.
All right. Well, it's always a ton of fun. And, of course, we are just beginning day number 1 of the Wichita Open out at Crestview Country Club. Jay, appreciate your time. Have a great first day, and we'll talk to you and check in again tomorrow on the updates on the leaderboard.
You got it. Looking forward to it. Hey, have a great day, guys.
All right. Thank you so much. That's Jay Delling. He's going to be talking with us again tomorrow for day number 2 of the Wichita Open. And man, I would just encourage anybody listening, if you've got a couple of free hours to go out there, check out the Wichita Open. Everybody talks about the 17th green. It's a lot of fun, but it's not just that. I've loved just going and walking the course, following golfers, getting a chance to check out some of these young guys that are trying to make a charge and make it to the big time, the PGA Tour. So it's always a lot of fun. Day number 1 of the Wichita Open out at Crestview Country Club. We're going to take a break. Come back. Our final full segment is on the way next. Tommy Castor, Paul Savage, and Jad Chambers producing. It's Sports Daily on KFH.
This is Sports Daily on KFH.
Welcome back, everybody. Sports Daily on a Thursday. Tommy Castor and Paul Savage here with you. The IHOP hotline, 869-1240. It's been a busy show today, Paul. Jam-packed.
Boy, it has.
A lot of different interviews. Tim Fitzgerald, Chelsea Messenger, Kym Carter, the Wichita Sports Hall of Fame inductee, Jay Delling to talk Wichita Open.
Man.
If you missed any of that, you can go online, kfhradio.com or the free Odyssey app, and listen to all of those interviews back. And, of course, as we talked about before, day number 1 of the U.S. Open is underway. The leaderboard really hasn't changed a whole lot since the last time we talked about it. The same 3 players, Morales, Solomon, and Wu, tied for the lead at 2 under right now. A couple of other notable players that are on the course that are under par: Kevin Streelman, Francesco Molinari, Shane Lowry, Ricky Fowler, Xander Schauffele, and John Rahm, all 1 under par. So, of course, very early in day number 1 of the U.S. Open, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We're definitely in that season, Paul, where you've got U.S. Open golf, you've got Wichita Open golf. There's just a lot happening in that world.
Right, and I'm really looking forward to the U.S. Open and getting some TV time with that. I'm interested in this golf course. It's amazing to me that you would think that the PGA would come play some golf tournaments in Los Angeles. I mean, call me crazy,
right,
but I mean, you would think. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some really nice golf courses in California, up and down the course. The coastline. We all understand that it's full of great golf courses. But LA, you would think, with the population base, they would come. So I think this is going to be a fascinating. I think this course is going to be scored on a little bit more than we think. I think it's going to take a higher score than normal to win this tournament. But anyway, I think it's going to be fascinating. I will be watching. I'm fascinated in the course. I want to see the course almost as much as the players, to be real truthful.
Yeah, I loved your question to Chelsea Messenger in the first hour about how the fact that this course is kind of unknown, if that plays into how you bet it or not, because a lot of these golfers have never played Los Angeles Country Club before. Sam Stevens, when we had him on last week, said that he had never played it. A lot of these players haven't. I know the PGA Tour, they do a little bit in the LA area. I think the Genesis Open is at Riviera, which is in the LA Metro. But I mean, this particular course, LA Country Club, is kind of an unknown. And, watching some videos from before the tournament started of, the ball dropping into the rough and it's just like disappears into the grass.
Right.
That's what makes the U.S. Open so much fun. I called it a battle of attrition yesterday.
Yes.
That's kind of what it is. So it's going to be fun to watch this tournament as the week goes on. Definitely locked into it for sure. We'll give you an update tomorrow on the show once we get through day number 1 of how things stand after one day of the U.S. Open out in L.A. All right, we're going to take our final break of the show. When we come back, we'll tell you what's on the network as we get into a Thursday. We'll be right back. It's Sports Daily on KFH.